Hi, welcome to SEO Hangouts with Josh Bachynski. That would be myself, and the Kraken, and the Bones of Matt Cutts. Today I have an interesting case study for you based on my Panda list that I published a couple weeks ago. If you haven't seen it or heard me tweet about it, I made a complete list of the Panda do's and don'ts as leaked by real Google employees, one ex-employee, from Google, because Google was unwilling to publish the entire list publicly, and so over the years I tracked every single instance of when a Google employee said blah is bad for Panda or blah is a quality issue, and I made a complete do and don't list. I added them together, controlled it up, and made a complete list. So you can check that out at themoralconcept.net/pandalist.html. However, of course, being an SEO, I wanted to conduct an experiment to see how well that page would rank for various queries, and how fast it would rank, and what would rank for, and what else Google would show when you start looking for it. So, without further ado, I'd like to show you my case study of how Google ranked my Panda list, and how long it took, and exactly what they did. So, check it out. Okay, so here we have my Panda article SEO experiment. So here's just some background for the experiment. Here's when I posted the article. This is some time ago. Notice that I'm using just one of their data centers and it's an incognito window. So this particular window here is completely, shouldn't have any personalization except for that persistent cookie and or the IP address personalization that they do. So remember, even if you go incognito, they still have a little bit of personalization on there in the form of either your IP address and or a persistent cookie that they give. And I know this is true because, I don't know if you've noticed, but when you go into incognito mode, and whenever I type in 74 dot, it'll automatically give me this test SERP I like to use on a regular basis. And so something is saving that, right? That's either coming from Google, that's coming from the cookie, or it's coming from both. So that doesn't happen if I do it somewhere else. So I think it could be IP-based, could also be cookie-based as well. Anyway, however, that being said, this is as incognito as it gets if I want to stay in Chrome. And so here's the article that I posted. Now, notice that a couple things that, first off, when they first spidered it, it was 3 days after. And they used, for some reason, they spidered a URL parameter. Now, there's no URL parameter on my site. The URL parameter is this $UTM content thing. This actually, as it turns out, was from a link that somebody made that I'll mention in a second. And it's actually bad for me that my server responds 200 on this URL parameter, because that means anyone could make 10,000 links pointing out my site that say child porn or buy Viagra here. And this is a well-known negative SEO vulnerability that will also get you hit for Panda. So as you can see in my list, if you click through and check out my list. So that's something to keep in mind. The same also works for roboted out pages. If you have a page in the robot text and people make tens of thousands of links to it, maybe even hundreds of thousands, depends on how many pages you have. It has to be 20 to 30% of your total pages on your site, whether they're real or fake, doesn't matter. 20 to 30% of your total URLs is what you need to be hit for Panda, which is what John Mueller has mentioned in the past. Okay, so it was interesting. So even though I posted it on Twitter, it wasn't spidered until other people made links to it. So posting it on Twitter wasn't enough, even though I know that Google spiders my Twitter account. And of course, as I mentioned, they spidered some URL with a URL parameter because someone made links to it. Again, this is a negative SEO issue. And notice here, this 3 days ago thing, they got the date from the article, and they continue to, and I'll show that below. Again, this is going to be proof of text scraping for their entity database. Just so everyone knows what I'm talking about, the entity database is this whole things, not strings, hummingbird kind of knowledge panel, knowledge vault they have with over 1.6 billion facts in it. That's what they're doing now. They don't have a website database, they have an entity database, and a website is a type of entity. But they also have other types of entities, like people, places, things, and activities, and all different kinds of facts. Also notice here that because my search query is Panda do and don't list, they chose not my title, but they chose my H1 in the page, which used to say the big Panda do and don't list, because the title says the complete Google leaked Panda do and don't list. It used to say the official Google leaked Panda do and don't list. I changed it. So, however, that doesn't matter. Google is going to automatically choose the title to show here in the SERP based on what the searcher looked for. And they're going to choose the most concise and the one that most closely matches the query that someone's searching for. So I'm going to tell you a little bit on how to control that. And of course, they know what the originating article is. That's why they put it up here, because these sites are all higher authority sites. This SEO Nitro, which is a company that sponsors my videos and that I also do consulting for and with, and I present at conferences and stuff like that. So I posted my article on SEO Nitro on the blog, as I do for most of my stuff, for that good group of people. And also inbound.org, obviously, is a much more authoritative site. So these two sites are more authoritative in terms of pure link juice, so they should outrank me in theory if things were just working on pure link juice. Things are not just working on pure link juice anymore. They know what the originating article is, and so, again, of course, as you probably already know, the algorithms are much more nuanced. Also, if you look down here, Google doesn't know. This is also a very good experiment in the sense that Google doesn't know what I want. Do I want a panda? Do I want to know what pandas eat? Like, do I want to know what pandas do or don't do? Or do I want to know, do you want me to show you pictures of pandas? Like, what do you want for this query? Google's not really too sure when it says panda do and don't list, right? So this is a very good query to do research on, because you'll see how Google changes their semantic entity database based on user input. Again, Google will change their semantic entity database based on the content they find and based on the actions people take in their search engine, which I'll get to in a second. Also notice that for this Panda do and don't list, they also at the bottom here put my Twitter account. Now, a lot of people retweeted my Panda do and don't list. A lot of people who have much bigger Twitter accounts than I do. A lot of people who have much more powerful Twitter accounts than I do. A lot of people who you would think, based on a simple clout score or something like that, or based just simply on the followers, you would think are much bigger SEO experts. And so now, this is back when the author snippet, like a week or two before they removed it. So the author snippet was still working in terms of telling Google who wrote what. But I didn't put it in this article. I never put it in my on my page. I just never got around to it, and now it doesn't work anymore, so I'm not going to bother doing it. But it doesn't look like I need to, because it looks to me like either Google knows I'm an SEO expert on Twitter, thanks Google, I'm somewhat flattered, or they knew that I wrote it. So, because it's interesting, because even Cyrus Shepard from Moz, he retweeted it very like just 5 minutes after I posted it. And so, Google doesn't spider our accounts that fast. They no longer have the pipe from Twitter. That was killed a couple of years ago. So they have no way of knowing if Cyrus wrote it or I wrote it, from the Twitter, from the Twitter feed, from the Twitter chronology, if you will. They only can tell that based on what it actually says in this page, which I'm going to get to in a second. So I thought that was interesting. So it shows my Twitter, even though there's no author snippet and no Webmaster Tools relation. So either one, they know it was first posted by me there, like 3 seconds after Google+. This is not likely. Or two, they know it was written by me because they text scraped the byline for their entity database. They text scraped the page byline. I could show you the page, but you've probably already seen it. That, it says by Josh Bachynski on the page. And so they know it was written by me because they text scraped the byline on the article for their entity database. And this entity, Josh Bachynski, often posts on Twitter. That is to say, they know it is my preferred social venue. That is also very interesting as well, because I posted it on Google Plus like 3 seconds later. Why didn't they show my Google Plus account here? I have just as many followers on Google Plus. I have like 1,500 followers on Google Plus, and I have like 1,500 followers on Twitter. But I never interact on Google Plus. I post videos. I might make the occasional snarky comment, but I really don't interact on Google Plus all that much. I interact on Twitter way more. And so you know, Google Twitter, they have the direct pipe from Google Plus. It's Google, right? So they're doing some, they know, again, their entity database is smart. They know this entity, Josh Bachynski, has a social account on Twitter. They know that's my preferred social venue because that's the one I interact on. So otherwise, they would have shown the Google Plus posting there, which in a little while, they're going to. They will on a different query. I'll show you. So it seems to me that number 2 here is most likely. That's what shows up in the knowledge panel as well. Whenever you do a search for my name, usually it's associated with my Twitter account. This, for me, is proof for why they don't need the author snippet anymore, right? They have entity search mostly worked out. I admit, it's pretty kludged together. It's not like Facebook graph search, which is a complete entity search. Do you guys know what Facebook graph search is? Facebook graph search, you can go onto Facebook and you can show me all the friends of Josh Bachynski, or show me all the friends or who have blonde hair. You know, you can do that kind of entity-based of objects with properties kind of search, right? A great kind of database kind of search. You can't do that on Google yet. If you type into Google or say into Google, show me all the articles written by Josh Bachynski, Google doesn't understand what that means yet. For one reason, out of the 3 things they would need. They would need 3 things for that. 1, they need to be able to understand the voice query. They have Hummingbird for that. They could probably parse that out and understand that by now. 2, they would need an algorithm to understand what that means. The graph search part of it, the logic to be able to put together the exact graph search that Facebook made to put together Josh Bachynski and articles. Josh Bachynski plus articles display, right? And then 3, they would need the database of the information of the entities that are named Josh Bachynski and the entities that are called articles, or have the property of being an article. They have the first, they have the last. They do not have the middle part yet. And you can know, because all you have to do is yammer at your phone. Okay, Google, show me all the articles written by Josh Bachynski. As soon as they show that all the articles on the internet written by Josh Bachynski, then you know, because right now they're just showing anything that shows up with the word article in it and is associated with Josh Bachynski. So they're kludging this together. They don't have an AI for this yet, but pretty soon they will. Pretty soon they will. Okay. So what about another search query? Well, I did another search query for Panda list, and this time I was logged in. It's a logged in search. So let's see what I got for that. So just doing Panda list, again, Google, if I was not logged in, I wouldn't see this at all. Google only shows my G+ post here, not the site. Again, not my site, themoralconcept.net, where the actual article is. I didn't post it on Google+, the whole article. I posted it on website, and then I made a Google Plus post linking to the website, themoralconcept.net/pandalist.html. So, but I have no Webmaster Tools publisher correlation between the 2 sites because I never bothered, because I don't care. If I did that, then it might show the moral concept here instead. You know, it depends on what has better authority signals, right? My Google Plus, how much do people follow it, link to it, talk to it, talk with it, talk about it, versus the article, how much people link to it, talk about it, talk to it, reference it, mention it. Probably the article, because again, I don't interact on Google+, so they probably would have shown the article here if I had the Webmaster Tools publisher connection. So interestingly, I'm logged in, so they show my own post. They're like, oh, you want your own post you posted? Here it is. You know, maybe if Barry had reposted it, Barry. Maybe they would show his up here, because of course he has a much bigger Google Plus following, right, account. So I found that was interesting. The only other thing here that's very interesting is, again, here's another proof of enthusiast rank. People call it agent rank, people call it expert rank, people call it author rank. I like to call it enthusiast rank, because it's not about who's an expert in what. That's a subjective human determination. But it is about who is enthusiastic about what. I repeat, it's not necessarily about who is an expert, quote-unquote, expert in what, because, again, that is a human subjective normative determination. But it is, for Google, about who is enthusiastic about what topic. And they check that by looking at your cookies and your cache and seeing what sites you go to and seeing what's important to you. And then they know you're an enthusiast on it. And then how much you post on it, and how much retweet your posts, and how many people repost your posts, and how many talk to your posts, and how many talk to your following, and how many those kinds of things. And then they can tell you're more of a quote-unquote super enthusiast or super fan, or maybe even what human beings would start calling an expert, right? So it's the way it works in Google right now, it seems to me it's more like an enthusiast. The reason why I call it, the reason why I use this as an example is because this fellow here, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I believe his name is Greek. It's a beautiful Greek name. I'm not even going to try and mention it. Guy, maybe? Let's say it's Guy. He, of course, is an enthusiast in SEO. No offense, maybe even an expert, but I would say he's more of an enthusiast in SEO. Why, this is not reposting my account. There is the specificity. He did mention list. But so he is an SEO guy. So it could just be the specificity and Google didn't know what I wanted for Panda list. Or it could be more of an enthusiast rank blending into that search result. So it's blended enthusiast, blended specificity, because they know that Guy is an enthusiast in SEO, because he's been around for a while. I've seen his face all over the place. Okay, so that was only 3 days after the thing was posted. Now, a couple weeks later, on September 1st, I did some more checking. I did some more posts. And so this was another incognito search. And interestingly, for Panda do and don't, the autocomplete was already there. It already had the do and don'ts or do and don't with an apostrophe, right? And so it also said it here, do you mean Panda do and don't? So the autocomplete was already there. And so a few weeks later, here's how that query showed up. So the query showed up like this to start, Panda do and don't or Panda do and don't list. It didn't show up, it shows up first for Panda do and don't list. But for Panda do and don't, which I thought is more what people will be typing in, it shows up third, which is fine. Because again, they're like, this is a very specific query, but still it's also very vague. It's a very vague specific query, if that makes any sense. They're like, what? Pandas do and don't what? They're not entirely sure what I want, right? So, but this is still an incognito search. They're like, okay, well, I still know this is a Panda do and don't list. Notice that a couple things have changed now. They've come back and respidered. They no longer spider the URL parameter. I did not at that time have a rel canonical on my page. I've since put it on there, just in case more people make links to URL parameters, because that's how you would protect yourself against the negative SEO attack. Not that I really care. You can negative SEO this site all you want. I don't care how it ranks. I'm just going to share it on Twitter and social media and bypass Google altogether. But notice that they've automatically selected the proper canonical version. This is the proper canonical version. They've automatically selected it. And if they trust your site, they will automatically select usually the best canonical version, but not always. And so there's a whole Pandora's box underneath that, what I just said. If you have any questions about it, by all means, email me. Before I forget, by the way, you can email me at, I'll even write it down. Hey, look at this. joshbachynski, can't even do my own name, at gmail.com. Not gmacql, gmail.com. Or you can follow me at Twitter at joshbachynski, or you can follow more videos like this at youtube.com/jbachynz. Like so. Okay. Okay, so they selected the proper canonicalization. So if you have any SEO questions, by all means contact me. Or questions like this, or SEO questions, or you just want to check, well, yell at me, go ahead, whatever. Okay, the next thing also notice is that they said 6 days ago was when it was published. Again, this is very important. I'll mention why in a second. Okay, so as I said, they found more links to the main pandalist.html, and that's how they chose it was, which I've confirmed in Link Research Tools. I've checked. By the way, I think Link Research Tools is the best linking tool out there. It's a little bit more pricey, but it's got the best suite of tools as far as I'm concerned. So Link Research Tools definitely is what you should be looking for from Kemper if you want to do any link analysis. And the only time you want to do link analysis is after you've received the unnatural link notice versus site That is the only time you need to do any link analysis whatsoever. You don't need to do any link analysis if it was versus links. That's partial, and they've taken action on links, and you don't need to clean anything up or do anything. Just take it as a warning not to make any more spammy links, because they will eventually, they'll send that to you maybe once or twice, and then they will make it versus site. And then you will have a penalty on your site, and you will have to apply for reconsideration request. Okay. Not to do that a rant again. You guys have heard that rant enough from me, enough, I'm sure. Although not super too much. Okay. Now, so that's how they chose the canonical. They found more links to the Panda list page, and I confirmed that link for search tools, and not the fake URL parameter that question mark UTM equals blah, 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 that unfortunately my server responds with a 200 without a canonical to protect it. Now, I noticed it was interesting. It was actually Cyrus Shepard from Moz who made that link. I don't know why he would make a link to my site. I definitely don't have any URL parameters on my site, and I definitely, when I posted it on Twitter and I posted it on Google+, I certainly never made a URL parameter to it on those social networks. I'm wondering why Cyrus Shepard made a standard WordPress UTM equals this, UTM equals content, UTM equals that. I see that on WordPress sites all the time. I don't know why he made that link to me. I wonder if he was trying to negative SEO me or what was going on there. No, probably not. I strongly doubt it. Anyway, notice that they text scraped the updated date. On my site, I say updated August 26th. That's what I have for the byline anymore. Byline, not originally written or something like that. That's what I have for the date. So Google will still text scrape that and say, oh, okay, you've made an update. Remember, making regular updates to your content, especially if it's timely content or content that has anything to do with the passage of time or can be affected by the passage of time, it is a major Panda factor to make sure that you've updated it and say in your page, updated, whatever, because that's what I did. You don't have to use that exact syntax, but some kind of syntax to say, hey, this page was updated, first published, October 25th, updated, October 13th or something like that, something along those lines. So you can give a current date to that entity. And they find that information for their entity database by text scraping. Yes, they are that smart that they've always text scraped for semantic relation, and now they're text scraping for entity relation or more enhanced semantic relation, right? Also notice that they updated my title to the complete Google leaked Panda do and don't list. And I removed the big Panda list anywhere from the page, and so I forced Google to choose the longer title. I removed all the shorter options, i.e. big Panda list, so the algorithm had no choice but to choose the most relevant title from my page that still had the keyword in it. So that's how you control what title they show. They will choose the simplest version they can see in your page, the simplest sentence snippet they can see in your page that matches the query, unless you leave no simple snippet for them to choose. Then they'll have to choose a longer one if you want to make sure you have a more catchy title or a more, emotion-provoking title. You want the most emotion-provoking title possible that will make people click it and click through. And then when they get to the page, you have to fulfill that promise, right? You have to fulfill on that, oh, I thought I was going to see the complete Google leaked Panda do and don't list. Yep, that's exactly what I'm providing in no uncertain terms, as close to the top as I possibly could, as a bold and bold letters so you can see it even if you are half paying attention. That's what we all need to do. Why? Because it's in my Panda list. Because it's a Panda Pro. Okay. Also notice they're showing the movie now. Of course, I do. You're watching one. I do SEO Hangouts every week or so, and they're showing the movie for it as well, which they weren't showing before, and they are not showing Panda photos anymore for the general non-blinded search. So this means that people train the algorithm that this search query, Panda do and don't, is more related to the SEO semantic, more related to Google Panda and not the general Panda bear semantic, right? So it's human beings typing in Panda do and don't and clicking on this or clicking on this. That tells them what should be relevant for this query. They're not really sure, and that will move this up and that will move this up. or at the very least, it will put it there in the smattering of offerings. So just keep that in mind, especially in niches where, you know, it could be about pandas and it could be or about Google Panda. And also on that point, notice something very interesting right at the top here, that Hummingbird also translates don't as can't and do as will. So Hummingbird is trying to get the sentiment of that cryptic but rather precise but incomplete query, Panda do and don't. Again, it is rather precise, Panda do and don't, but it's incomplete. Panda do and don't, ... what? Google's waiting for what? What do you want me to, pandas do and don't what? What do you want to know about? That pandas eat or hibernate, or what do you want to know? So that's why they Hummingbird, again, is not like not even as smart as a 5-year-old yet, understanding the difference between don't and can't, and do and will, or don't and shouldn't, right? It doesn't understand those verbs yet. All it knows is that you want some kind of positive semantic and some negative semantic, right? It's like that. Well, see, so look up here. It says, why don't, you know, so for my search was panda do and don't, and it responded, why don't pandas hibernate? Pandas love bamboo, but can't digest it well. Giant pandas will occasionally eat meat when offered it, blah, 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 blah. So they're like, panda do and don't. They're trying to get the general sentiment of that query. They're like, what do you mean? Like, what do pandas do and what don't they do? What can they do and what don't they do? You want like panda lifestyle? Or you want something specific like panda do and don't, which they're thinking, oh, okay. They're putting that underneath. Why? Because the SEO panda semantic gets way less searches than the animal panda semantic. And there's way more content out there for animal panda as opposed to Google Panda. If we kept doing this query and let's say I paid 1,000 people to do this, not in one day, maybe in one day, Google might have a limit to start sniffing it. But if I get them to search this on unique non-proxy IP addresses and click this, this will go up. Google will start to machine learn, oh, you guys want this, or this is a hot article. And that's exactly what happened. Because if you do the search now, it looks slightly different. More or less the same, but slightly different. Okay, so it's very interesting. You need to still watch what people are searching. There are pros and cons to choosing a semantic with a bigger confusing issue. Of course, the pro is that there's maybe less monetary competition. And you can see this, you know, even in affiliate markets as well. I'd love to show you one in particular, but I can't because I'm competing there. And I don't want someone to go negative SEO on my site. So there's less monetary competition on this SERP, see if I want to rank for it, for example. But there is more semantic competition. My Google Panda semantic has to compete with the animal panda semantic. So you can try to train it with people clicking on it. You can also train Google to boost your listing and to understand the semantic better by searches and clicks. And you can post more content on Google Panda. You know, there's probably on the order of billions of pages about animal pandas, and probably only on the orders of hundreds of thousands, or maybe millions of pages about animal pandas, and maybe only 10,000 pages about Google Panda. So that's how Google is, and then versus searches and clicks. So that's how Google is factored against personalization. That's how Google is presenting that. So anyway, that is my SEO experiment about the Google Panda do and don't list. If you have any questions about that at all, please by all means contact me. As I said, joshbachynski@gmail.com, or follow me on Twitter @joshbachynski, and or watch more videos like this. Even better, even occasionally you can see me argue with industry experts and rant and debate with good old Barry at youtube.com/jbachynski. So I wish you well in the SERPs, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.